I have to admit that I am a huge fan of the new Star Wars RPG books from FFG. The format I like, the way they are written I like, and the rules promote storytelling and player interaction. Looking at them now, I personally would have liked one rulebook with all the rules, and then big setting books for Edge, Age, and Force. While each of the cores are presented differently and have different info etc., a large amount of the rules are the same and we are paying for a level of redundancy. But the question of did the Wizards of the Coast version really suck? Well, if we compared the two, in a way it does. It's a streamlined D20 rule set, but it still feels heavy on the crunch and doesn't compare to the storytelling style of FFG's. But I think an important point needs to be made. The FFG rule set is very modern and is one of the newer style. The new D&D is trying to speed things up. Crucible 7's excellent Doctor Who RPG is story focused. It's the direction games are moving in, but they are new. The D20 Star Wars was an older system, so it's not totally fair to judge them side by side. If you're going to get one of them, I do suggest the FFG as A, it's really good, and B, after looking on eBay for the books, they are really scarce and hard to get for the D20. But what do I think of the D20 version? Well, some things I really liked, and for the purpose of this review, I'll be looking at the core book only. I really didn't like only a couple of things about it, and that was the rules were still a bit crunchy. They did stream it down from D&D, so it was easier in that regard, but it was still a little heavy on the rules. The core was a little pricey. FFG is too, but it's bigger. There was only one rulebook, and the rest was setting and additional info. This I liked. There are 18 playable races in the core, which is a lot more than FFG's, and FSG is adding 3 per book, mostly, but it's scattered races across multiple books. Wizards of the Coast does lose some points here though, as one of the races is Ewok. They have hero classes to try and make you feel a bit more epic about what you're doing. Pretty much what you'd expect. Scoundrel, Scout, Soldier, Noble, and Jedi. So only 5. Their idea is to hit a certain level and then take a prestige class. It's a fine idea, I guess, but just seemed to be more interesting to those number crunchers and didn't really seem to improve anything about the story. Skills are a little on the light side. In one way that's good, and you don't have to worry about loads of skills, but it just feels a tad empty. In Doctor Who I think that works, in this it didn't. I can't quite tell you why I feel that way, just a gut feeling when playing it. It does use feats, and I never liked that aspect of D20. I guess my problem with a lot of the feats is they feel set like a video game ability. I'm going to use Bantha Rush or Cleave. The Force works. They did it much the same as West End Games did in a way, and FFG has kind of done it the way Wizards of the Coast did. Force seems to be a tricky thing to make as a rule. There is a large section on combat, and while crunchy, for the most part it's fine, and if you knew D&D already, then the jump here was relatively minor. Except they tried to promote using the Star Wars minis they produced for use in the RPG. This was an idea so stupid someone needed to be fed to the Sarlacc. The minigame and the RPG were diametrically different. The minigame was built around random minis in $12 boxes. In the RPG they have a picture using the Rancor, which was a very rare and not great odds of pulling one and selling by itself upwards of $30. You want the PCs to meet Jabba the Hutt and use minis for it? Jabbas are very rare. You want Bespin guards? Well, they are commons, but no guarantee how many packs you'll have to buy to get one, and if you need several you could buy them and they shouldn't have been too expensive, but it's all just a bit of a pain. I hated the idea, and even the rules in that section start to sound more like a minigame than an RPG. Using minis in a game is fine, doing it this way isn't. It has a nice basic section of spaceships from episodes 1 to 6 and droids from the same, Imperial probe droids and 2-1B from Empire Strikes Back and battle droids from episodes 1 to 3. The openness of the era was nice and gave the GM flexibility on when they wanted to set their game. There's a small planet guide with very basic info on several worlds. A small GM section, it's not bad, it's a little short, but the info on how to GM is informative, it just could have had more in it. Eras of play. Another nice but small section, has some nice ideas but not really giving the GM a lot to work with, and I don't think it would make someone choose one era over the other after reading it. Lastly, some creatures and NPCs like stormtroopers, basic rebel soldiers, basic clones and some fringes. Overall it's not great, but it's not bad. It has very nice art, some cool photos, and I love the square shape. That design choice was really cool. If you own it and want to still play it, then you totally should, as it's not terrible. If you are already playing it and your group is having fun, then stick with it. You could always try one of the FFG beginner games to try the new stuff out, and they come with a set of dice. It was a well-supported game, which is still nice to look through and would be fine to play.
Please tell me that was good.